Is the salary cap going to get implemented and people are going to get pissed? Are we about to take a massive step backwards and they're not going to be able to get a new CBA done?
This has a chance to be a lot darker and a lot worse than 4 years ago. Unless something miraculous happens, MLB is going to lock out the players in early December of 2026.
We need to talk about what's happening in baseball right now, because while everyone's watching the Dodgers absolutely dominate the playoffs, there's a ticking time bomb underneath all of it. And I'm not being dramatic here. So as of this recording, the Dodgers are up 2-0 against the Brewers. Yamamoto just threw a complete game masterful performance. The night before, Blake Snell dominated with 8 one-hit innings. The Dodgers look unstoppable. They're 7-1 in the playoffs. They're cruising right now. But here's a thing that should terrify every baseball fan. ESPN insider Jeff Passan literally wrote that if the Dodgers win back-to-back championships, it could lead to an extended lockout. Yeah, you heard that right. The better the Dodgers do, the worse things could get for the entire sport. And let me explain why this matters so much and why specifically this NLCS matchup between the Dodgers and the Brewers is basically a proxy war for baseball's entire economic future. Okay, so first we need to understand just how insane the spending gap has become in Major League Baseball. And I mean insane. The Dodgers aren't just outspending other teams. They're spending more than the bottom 6 teams in baseball combined. And let me break these numbers down for you because they're legitimately insane. The Dodgers' total projected outlay this season is over $500 million when you include their luxury tax penalties. That's more than Miami, the Athletics, Tampa Bay, the Chicago White Sox, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland spend combined. All 6 of these teams have payrolls under $100 million. The league-wide payroll disparity is at an all-time high. You have the Mets that are paying $300+ million, and then you have the Miami Marlins that are barely scratching $70 million in payroll. 9 teams are spending more than $200 million, while 5 are spending less than $100 million. That's not competitive balance. That's 2 completely different sports being played under the same rule book. So here's where things get really interesting. MLB owners were already vocal, publicly and even more so privately, about Los Angeles spending. They've been complaining, they've been frustrated. But if the Dodgers win another championship, what does that say? So as Jeff Passan writes, MLB owners will likely cry foul even louder. Already, MLB is expected to lock out players upon the agreement's expiration. Back-to-back championships by the Dodgers could embolden MLB and add to a chorus of fans who see a cap as a panacea for the plague of big money teams monopolizing championships over the past decade. Think about what he's saying here. The lockout isn't a maybe, it's expected. The current collective bargaining agreement expires at 11:59 p.m. on December 1st, 2026. We're barely a year away from baseball potentially going dark again, and both sides are already prepping for war. MLBPA Executive Director Tony Clark said, "Unless I am mistaken, the league has come out and said there's going to be a work stoppage. There's no speculation." That's the head of the players union straight up telling us what's coming. Even crazier is that Rob Manfred actually defended the idea of a lockout, saying in a bizarre way it's actually a positive. There is a leverage associated with an off-season lockout, and the process of a collective bargaining under the NLRA works based on leverage. The commissioner is literally out here calling a lockout a positive. That should tell you guys everything you need to know about how bad this could get. So now that we get that out of the way, let's talk about why this specific NLCS matters so much to the future of the sport and why so many people are paying attention to it. Because what we're watching isn't just another baseball playoff series. It's essentially a referendum on baseball's economic model. On one side, you have the Dodgers, the most expensive roster ever constructed, spending more than $500 million when you include luxury tax penalties. They've bought practically every available superstar, and they're the poster child for what small market owners hate about the current system. And then on the other side, you have the Milwaukee Brewers, consistently at the bottom third of the payroll teams with around 120 million, less than a quarter of what the Dodgers are spending. Yet they still won 97 games this year, which is the best record in baseball. They won 5 NL Central titles in the past 8 years. They've made the playoffs 7 times, and they did all of this while being smart, not by being rich. Passan nails this on the head perfectly when he said what looks like a best of of 7 baseball series will play out as a proxy of the coming labor war between MLB and the MLB Players Association. If the Dodgers win, and let's be real, they're already up 2-0, coming back to LA as well, they're probably going to win the series, it gives the owners ammunition. They'll say, see, money is buying championships. We need to implement a salary cap now so that the teams actually have a chance at competing with each other. The article points out that if the Dodgers win back-to-back titles, it will only embolden the league's push to regulate salaries. It's literally a battle for the narrative that will shape baseball's economic future. Every pitch matters. Every at-bat matters. Not just for who wins a pennant, but for what baseball will look like for the next decade. The Brewers' 26-man NLCS roster tells an incredible story. 15 of their 26 players came via trade, including their best players like Christian Yelich, William Contreras, Freddie Peralta, and Trevor McGill. They didn't buy these players, they developed them or traded smartly for them. Cleveland is the same story. The Guardians have consistently fielded competitive teams while operating with one of the lower payrolls in baseball. They draft well, develop talent, and make smart decisions. So the Union's point is valid. If these teams can compete with smart management and good scouting, why do we need a cap? The system can work if teams actually try. But here's the counter argument. Sustaining success is much tougher for smaller markets. If injuries hit, if a crop of prospects busts, they can't just throw money at the problem like the Yankees or the Dodgers. One bad contract can sink a small market team's budget for years, whereas a big market club can just shrug away the problem and just throw money at it and say, hey, we'll pay the luxury tax. Small market teams often face heartbreak, like when the Royals couldn't pay to keep their 2015 championship core together, or when Milwaukee traded away star reliever Josh Hader to avoid future salary hit. The Guardians keep losing free agents. The A's are consistently trading veterans before they get expensive. This is a common theme. So, okay, here we are. The $1 million question, or should I say the $500 million question. Does money actually guarantee success in baseball? The owners want you to believe it does, but the data is complicated. Since 2000, teams with the highest payroll have won the championship just 4 times. That's 4 times in 25 years. That's it. Over the last 10 seasons, there have been 8 different champions, with only the Dodgers and Houston Astros winning twice. The last team to win back-to-back championships was the 1999-2000 New York Yankees, and that was 25 years ago. So look at the evidence. The 2024 Mets had the second highest payroll at $342 million and didn't even make the World Series. The Yankees spent $305 million and are enduring a 16-year championship drought. The 2023 Mets spent a fortune and stayed home in October. The 2023 Yankees, 2019 Cubs, and the 2019 Red Sox all had top 2 payrolls and missed the playoffs entirely. So clearly money isn't always everything, but it obviously is a huge part. Money helps when you can just go and buy a free agent. So here's the reality. Payroll correlates more strongly with winning in baseball than in any of the capped sports. That's the data. Teams that spend more tend to win more, even if it's not a guarantee. And over the past 3 years, the Dodgers, Mets, Yankees, and Phillies have signed 10 of the 17 9-figure free agents. The rich teams target the top tier talents that smaller revenue teams don't even bother engaging with. A mid-sized market team president said it perfectly. How do we compete? We try to do everything right. We draft well, we develop well, and then we get the shit kicked out of us by the clubs that just buy our players. And honestly, I feel for that. And I know what some people are saying. Doesn't MLB already have revenue sharing? Don't they try to level the playing field so all teams can get paid? Yes, they do, but it's not enough. MLB currently pools 48% of local revenues and redistributes it to help even out the disparities. That sounds like a lot, but here's the problem. For example, the Dodgers TV deal pays them nearly $200 million a year. Even after they ship 48% of their local broadcast revenue to the league, they still have more money than entire other teams' payrolls. Meanwhile, after the Twins pay their 48%, their local broadcast money might not even cover Brian Bruxton's salary. Now, I have another cute stat for you guys here. Over the past 3 off seasons, 13 teams haven't guaranteed a free agent deal for more than $50 million. 13 teams. That's almost half the league that's essentially not even trying to compete at the top level, or they're just not able to financially. And that's something that should terrify MLB executives because it terrifies me as a fan. I'm not happy about it. And in a poll run by MLB Trade Rumors asking, do you want a salary cap in the next MLB CBA? Over 35,000 fans voted, and the result, 67% said yes. Now, polls on sports websites aren't perfect, and passing notes, these results might be skewed by frustration over the Dodgers spending and use of deferred money, but that's kind of the point. Fans are frustrated. They're watching the same teams dominate. They're seeing their teams not even try to compete, and they're getting tired of it. Passan writes, the greatest drug of sports fandom is belief, and right now, belief in baseball is waning. That's the real crisis. When fans stop believing that their team has a chance, they stop caring, they stop watching, they stop buying tickets and merchandise. So that brings us to where we are now. The Dodgers up in the series against the Brewers in the NLCS and likely on their way to another World Series. But whatever happens after this World Series, we're looking at potentially the most contentious labor negotiation in modern baseball history. Both sides are already preparing for a work stoppage. The owners want a salary cap. The players will never agree to one. And unlike last time, this is happening. Manfred has basically admitted that missing games might be necessary, calling the leverage from an offseason lockout actually a positive. The commissioner of baseball is openly discussing the benefits of shutting down his own sport. Think about how wild that is. Look, I love baseball, you love baseball, and that's why we're here, and that's why this matters so much. What baseball needs is probably some combination of a salary floor to force teams to spend and stricter limitations on deferrals, while preserving the ability of players to get paid what they're worth in a free market. But getting the owners and players to agree on any of that is going to be a bloodbath. So as you watch the rest of these playoffs, as you watch the Dodgers potentially cruise to another World Series championship, remember what's lurking underneath all of this. Every home run, every strikeout, every celebration, it's all happening in the shadow of what could be baseball's darkest winter since 1994. The CBA expires December 1st, 2026. That's 413 days from this recording. The clock is ticking, and when these playoffs end, the real battle for baseball's future is gonna begin. I really hope I'm wrong with all of this. I hope cooler heads prevail. I hope both sides find a way to compromise. I hope we don't lose games. But based on everything we've been hearing from both sides, it sounds like baseball might be headed for a catastrophe. And the most frustrating part is that it's happening at a time when baseball is surging in popularity. It couldn't be at a worse time. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Who's at fault here? What is a good solution for the league, for the players, for the owners? How can MLB move forward and make things work? That's all for today. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.